Today we'll be talking about the obligations of a financial institution and designated non-financial businesses and professions under the Money Laundering Prevention and Prohibition Act 2022. So you have incorporated your business with the Corporate Affairs Commission, and you also have obtained your Special Control Unit Against Money Laundering certificate. And now you want to delve properly into your business. Yeah, so what are your obligations under the AML CFT Money Laundering Prevention and Prohibition Act? So sections 2 all the way to sections 11 have itemized a list of obligations that you as a financial institution or a designated non-financial business and profession should undertake in order to safeguard your business against money laundering activities or even terrorist financing activities. So we are going to delve into these obligations, and if you're ready, I am also ready too. So number one obligation is for any business or even a financial institution to own what is called an internal policy document. I'll say that again, an AML CFT internal policy document. So what is this document all about? An internal policy document, it's a written document, a formally written document or a guideline that the entity puts together to show that it has a preventive measure against money laundering. It has a measure to detect money laundering activities, and it also has the measure that has been put in place to report money laundering or even terrorist financing activities. So this is a guiding principle or a guiding document for your business, and all staff of that business are expected to know what is contained in that business in order for you as the management or as business owner to be able to safeguard your business against money laundering activity or terrorist financing activity. Matter of fact, if you do not have a document like that and your staff do not know of that kind of policy document, which is like a guiding principle, it is possible that money launderers or terrorist financiers can use your staff knowingly or even unknowingly to perpetrate their money laundering activities or criminal activities, as the case may be. So the internal policy document, you can call that your first line of defense for your business. When you have a policy document like that, it's like a Bible that you want to refer to, or maybe even your Quran that you want to refer to regarding the faith that you belong, to be able to say that, yeah, these are the principles guiding to prevent, to detect, and also to report money laundering activities for your business. So are there key components that are expected to be contained in this internal policy document? The answer would be yes. For example, it is the document that should show that you as a company has carried out your risk assessment. Risk assessment is what you do to ascertain the threats and vulnerability, as well as the consequence or likelihood of any threat or vulnerability for your business. So you carry out a sectoral risk assessment for your kind of business or for your entity to be able to ascertain the threat level and how vulnerable your business is to attack of money laundering or terrorist financing activities. And like I said, your employees are expected to know what is contained in that document. So if, for instance, you lay off your staff and you bring in or you employ in a new staff into that company, they're expected to read through your internal policy document on AML and CFT. AML here is anti-money laundering, CFT countering the financing of terrorism, for them to be able to know the guiding principles that's holding your business regarding its safety, regarding on how you prevent money laundering activities, how the business is able to detect when issues regarding money laundering activities have taken place, and the channels within which you report those activities to the regulatory bodies or the authorities, as the case may be. So you are also to ensure that your internal policy document is signed by the management, and so it's binding on all employees of your company. The second obligation for a financial institution or a designated financial business or profession is the appointment or designation of a compliance officer. The criteria for the appointment or designation of a compliance officer is someone who has the background or the requisite knowledge on anti-money laundering or countering the financing of terrorism, and someone who is on the managerial level, right? This person's role or duty is one, to report activities of money laundering that has taken place in his firm or entity or his institution to the regulatory body, or someone who acts as a liaison between his entity and the regulatory authorities. The compliance officer in some jurisdiction is called the Money Laundering Reporting Officer, or the MLRO. But here in Nigeria, we regard that person as the compliance officer. So in your institution, you could have a chief compliance officer, maybe someone who is there at the headquarters. And if you do have branch offices in several other parts of the country, then you can have compliance officers in those zones. So appointing or designating a compliance officer for your institution or your business is called the second line of defense. Why is that? The first line of defense is for you to have an internal policy document that speaks to money laundering. Then the second line of defense is that you want to appoint your a staff or somebody at the management level who is going to stand as a liaison between the regulatory bodies and your institutions to report money laundering activities when it does occur, or to perhaps train some staff within the organization regarding the knowledge or the understanding of money laundering. Or the third obligation would be that the business or the financial institution or the designated financial business should have what's called an internal audit department. Yes, the internal audit department is expected to carry out oversight function on the compliance officer or the compliance unit to ensure that there is effectiveness of the money laundering procedures and policies in place within the company. One, like I told you, is to prevent the money laundering activities takes place within the company, is to detect just in case it has taken place, and then to report to the regulatory bodies or the appropriate authority. Right, so the internal audit has a very vital role to play, which is to carry out oversight function on the compliance officer or the compliance section. And this internal audit for the business is called the third line of defense. The first line of defense, which is having an internal policy document. Second line of defense, employing or designating a compliance officer, and the third line of defense, which is having your internal audit. All of these measures are called the preventive measures to guard against money laundering activities and terrorist financing activities for your business or for your institution.